Nina, you are a soldier of the IDF. You chose to be a soldier. They told
Correct.
me after October 7th, right?
Yeah, I drafted right after October 7th in late November.
And you are serving in the rescue unit, a very important unit right now. Tell us about your story. Where were you born and why did you decide to join the IDF?
So I was born in Kansas, the United States. It's in the center of the United States. And then I really grew up in Massachusetts. I moved there at the young age of 7. And I grew up in a Zionist household with a strong sense of Jewish identity. My mother's a rabbi. I grew up going to synagogue on Shabbat and doing all the holidays. I went to a Jewish day school and I had a private education where essentially half of my education was about Israel and the Bible, the Tanakh, learning Hebrew. Also, I started learning Hebrew, honestly, from pre-kindergarten for all of my education. And so I grew up learning about this country and this country that I love. And I knew from a young age that I wanted to serve into the army. But after high school, like all classic American kids, I went to college. And while I was in college, I started a lot of Israel advocacy on my campus. I started an Israel club. I got back into Hebrew and was taking Hebrew classes. And once there was a pro-Israel voice on my campus, all of a sudden there became an anti-Israel voice. And I realized that my version of advocacy, I can't just do it from college campuses, although that is really important. For me, you know what, it was now or never. I'm going to do my dream and I'm going to draft into the IDF. So I made Aliyah in August, right before October 7th. And I knew I was drafting before October 7th. And then October 7th happens. And it reaffirms why I wanted to draft and the importance of a Jewish state, and my why and why I'm here. And since then, I've drafted into the Army. I just finished training. And you see all of the anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism and from the international world. And to this day, every single day, I'm more and more motivated to be in the IDF and serve the country that I think is really needed for the Jewish people.
Now you just completed the Beret March of 20 kilometers. I saw some pictures and videos of soldiers completing this march, which is very a hard ordeal because you carry a lot of weight. I don't know how much you carry, but I didn't see any women in these videos. Were you the only women in this march?
No, definitely not. So the Search and Rescue Brigade, the reason why it's such a great unit is because it's girls and boys together. It's men and women together. So I would say that it is about half and half in terms of men and women. And the great thing also, and the reason why the Army is the melting pot of the country, is you have everything. You have Druzim, you have Druze. I have an Ethiopian friend. I have friends who were originally from South Africa. It's everyone. It's like the entire society in this unit. So it is definitely, it's boys and girls. It's a mixed unit.
And tell us a little bit about this march.
So the march, we started late Wednesday night around the Latrun area. And Latrun is a very important landmark in Israeli history. It was an important point, like a tactical point during the Independence War. And we marched from that area and ended at Latrun around 8 in the morning, Thursday morning. So it was a few hours. We went through the whole night without sleeping. We had a break to eat, but and of course here and there we obviously had breaks to drink water, but the whole time we were carrying all of our equipment on our backs. We have our full vest, we have our weapons, we have all the ammunition, we have a stretcher on us, and there's no speaking. There's no speaking. Of course, there's certain like officers who have like the walkie-talkie and they communicate within each other. But in general, it is like a journey where there's no speaking. And so all through the night, we made our march. We had all of our equipment on us. And then towards the end, we put on our berets. About the last 2 kilometers maybe, we put on our berets and our parents and family joined in and helped us carry the stretchers. And at the end we switched our green beret, which is the beret that we had during all of training, and we eventually got our orange beret, and the orange beret is the official beret for our unit, because orange, the color orange symbolizes like search and rescue. It's like the international color, and so that's why we got the orange beret, and it's that color.
You were there from the beginning of the war. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit, how was this October 7th for you? And you are serving at the very moment of a big war, an important war. Tell us a little bit what it feels. First, how it felt on the October 7th, and now how it feels to be in a war.
October 7th was a nightmare. To this day, it will be a day that I will forever remember. Just how Americans remember exactly where they were when 9/11 happened. October 7th, every Israeli and a lot of Jews around the world are going to remember where they were when they heard about it. For me, I happen to be at my kibbutz, which is near Haifa. It's in the north. I woke up around 6:30 that morning, and I see all of the sirens going off throughout the country in the south. I call my mom, and my mom lives in the United States, and it's the middle of the night for her. And I'm like, Mom, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm freaking out. I have a panicked voice. And my mom is trying to calm me down, being like, listen, sweetie, this happens often in Israel. Israel will get through it. This is not Israel's first time where there's rockets being sent from Gaza. And then I say to my mom, okay, but this is different. This feels different. So we hang up. My mom goes back to sleep. About 3 hours later, around 9:30, I wake up again, and this time I'm up for the day. I start to see on social media, particularly, I remember the picture from Sderot, which is one of the cities in Otef, of terrorists in the street, aiming. They had all their guns in the pickup trucks. I'm sure you know the images, whatever. So I see that image on Instagram, and I have no words. I'm puzzled. I don't know what's going on. This is like, news is starting to break out on what's going on, but not exactly. No one really knows what's going on. And then I call my mom again, and I'm like, Mom, get on the news. This is not typical. No one knows what's going on. This is different. And then everyone starts to hear the news, and I spent the rest of the day with my other friends who are also all lone soldiers on my kibbutz, and we are all following the news, and we are all puzzled and freaking out. We start seeing things on social media for the upcoming days of missing people who were at maybe the Nova Festival or from these kibbutzim. My entire social media is faces and numbers to contact if you hear of this woman who was maybe wearing a blue scarf, and all of that. That was my week, was just hearing about missing people, and people starting to, IDF soldiers reporting in and leaving the kibbutz and going and joining the war effort. It was a nightmare. It was a true nightmare.
And it's like your welcome party in the IDF was the war.
Yeah, but honestly, like, this war it just affirmed in every single way possible, like, why am I here? Why did I leave my parents and my perfectly great life in the United States to ultimately sacrifice my entire being for this country?
Why?
Why? Because although I wasn't born in Israel, it is my country. I feel it is my home more so than the United States. I want my children to grow up speaking Hebrew. I want my children to live in Israel. And to be a part of Israeli society, you do the army, and you sacrifice 2 to 3 years of your life for the country. And I have to do it. There's no way that I could live in this country without sacrificing that time. for the place that I love.
And what is the most terrible thing you had to live by being a soldier at the IDF?
I think the search and rescue training is really difficult because it's learning how to use a lot of power tools. Obviously, no one has experience using these tools until you get to the Army. So I'd say that was all very difficult. And of course, the language factor. That's just like words. It's just like new words that you never heard of in your life. I like talking about different fuels and oils and of course, at the end of the day, that's the profession and like the specialty of the unit is the search and rescue. So that training was really difficult and how to do that off of no sleep. And yeah, that was definitely very difficult. I mean, throughout training, it's knowing how to, you're not a civilian anymore. It's you're going from being the ones protected to now protecting. So it's totally changing your mindset mentally. So maybe that's not sleeping much at night. It's learning to do guard duties. It's learning to do these search and rescue exercises. So that was definitely I mean, that's all training, and that was the difficult times is or is it like, yeah, I would say it's just now instead of being protected, I'm protecting, and it's just totally changing your mindset for that.
And what is the role of your unit in this war?
So my unit in this war for search and rescue, if they're and the northern border, we have to be ready that if something were to happen to a building where maybe civilians were found inside, my unit would have to do the search and rescue for the civilian population in the north, and also IDF soldiers within the Gaza Strip.
What were the challenges? What your challenges being in that war?
In terms of the war, so my unit on October 7th, our base for training is in an area called Zikim, which is on the northern border of Gaza. And October 7th, our base was infiltrated. I wasn't in the army yet, but that doesn't matter. My commander's friends were there. That is the base for my unit. So it was infiltrated on October 7th. And sadly, 7 people from my unit were killed. And so from the 7 people were killed. And so unfortunately, the base was infiltrated very badly. We have not returned back to that base, and who knows when we will return back. So from the day that we drafted until now, we are reminded every day of what happened to us and what happened to those 7 innocent soldiers who were murdered. And that has been obviously a huge grieving time for the unit, the entire country, for the 7 soldiers' families. And that topic and to remember their lives is talked about often.
Some were your friends?
I didn't, but they were my commander's friends. I know, for example, one of my officers, my company commander's best friend was murdered on that day. And they did courses together. They were great friends. She went there after October 7th to protect the base and that part of the country. And those are days that she will never forget. And she told us those stories throughout training. And one of her best friends was killed. And she's 21 years old. No 21-year-old should ever have to experience that in their life.
Of course. Were you ever tempted to go back to the States?
No, not at all.
Not at all. What do your family say? Did they ever tell you, please come back? It's not the moment.
No, they're really proud of me. And there was never a moment where they wanted me to come back. obviously I gave my mom about 7 strokes this year. She would like me locked up in the basement, of which mom wouldn't want that. But they're really proud of me because they know that I'm doing what I believe in. I'm doing the right thing. I'm sticking up for my people. I'm fighting for my people. I'm fighting for my country.
What message would you like to send for Jews of the Jewish community in Mexico that have been thinking of going to the army in Israel?
At the end of the day, doesn't matter if you were born in Israel, born abroad. This is a country for Jewish people. It is a huge sacrifice to leave your comfortable home where you were born and your family and your friends. But at the end of the day, this is the army for the Jewish people. It is a country for the Jewish people. And it is a really large sacrifice, but there isn't a day that goes by where I regret the decision that I made.
You are a lone soldier?
Yes.
And have you been adopted by any family or some people in Israel?
Yeah, I do. I have a great host family. And I drafted and made Aliyah through a program called Garin Sabar. So I made Aliyah with friends and I drafted with friends. And I have a great host family who lives on my kibbutz in the north.
What is this program?
It is basically a program that helps people deal with the bureaucracy that is part of Israel and the country, and it's not exactly easy to handle individually, and helps us draft into the army and make Aliyah and live successfully in the country.
Thank you so much for this interview, Nina.
Of course, no, thank you for the questions. I appreciate it.
We really wish you the best of luck and many success
Thank you.
In the army. Thank you for what you are doing for us, for the Jewish people.
Of course.
Thank you.